Hey yo, so I've been trying out Reina the last while, a couple of weeks, and my initial impression is that she's a very complex character. She retains some tools from Hayachi, as well as adding her unique twist on her gameplay, right? She has a lot of stances, which I'll go over in this tutorial. As always, I won't be going over combos, I'll upload the video, so I must redirect you guys to other combo guides for this character. I will have a written transcript of this guide available in the pinned comments if you want to read this back. So, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, and comment and all that. So, let's go right into it. So let's talk about what Reina has to offer while she's in heat. So first of all, her heat engages are downward 1-2, forward 3, Sentai 3, back 3 stance into the 4, and Heaven's Wrath 2. So these are her 5 heat engagers. So when she's in heat, she has certain strings that has an extension. So for example, 3-4, you can see it's -14, 3+4 is also -14, and 4-2+4 is unsafe as well. So when she's in heat, she gains an extra extension on these moves. So that's 3+4, 4. You use up some for heat there. 3, 4, 4 gains an extension as well, and so does 3+4, 4. So the heat extensions makes the string safe, do way more chip damage. You can see all the chip damage it does. It's a lot more, right? As well as being safe. So it's a pretty strong heat move to throw out, because especially 3+4, it has a lot of range, and it's quite fast for what the range is. So another thing that Reina can offer while she's in heat is the fact that her Heaven's Wrath stance, which is down 2+4. I'll talk about this stance in more detail later on. So when she's in heat and she does Heaven Wrath stance, she auto parries. So when heat is active and the opponent hits her during this stance, she auto parries them. And it might be familiar to you, is Hayachi's parry in Tekken 7. So another perk of Reina's heat is that your electrics are always going to be perfect. So these are always going to be perfect electrics. It's the same with her CD3. It's always going to be the just frame version. So that's the non-just frame version. And this is the just frame version. And it's the same with electric. They always come out as the just frame version, right? They always come out as the just frame version. Now, I don't play Mishimas, so forgive my execution, right? But yeah, her heat will always make the electric always just frame. Will make the CD3 always just frame. Another thing with Reina heat system is that she has a heat smash. As typical, right? Every character has a heat smash. Now the thing with Reina is her heat smash breaks the wall, and she gets a follow up, right? She gets a follow up afterwards. Now, she is one of the few characters in the game where she actually has a second heat, like a second heat smash. So her second heat smash is in Heaven's Wrath, and then you do 2+3. So while she's in Heaven's Wrath, she gains a very damaging low. And on the floor break stages, it breaks the floor for a full combo. So this adds a really scary low option to her Heaven's Wrath stance, which I'll talk about more in more detail later on. So that kind of summarizes our whole heat system. So let's get onto our key moves. So now let's talk about Reina's moves. Now I'm not going to go over all the moves, just the more important moves, right? So first of all, 1-1-2, and even just 1-1 by itself, and single job by itself. So job for every character is extremely important because it's your fastest move across the board. So it's a very good interrupt tool. It's a very good way to start your pressure because it's +1 and it's extremely fast. So jobs are just cornerstone to every character. Now Reina's is particularly good because it has a very good hitbox and has very good range, and also she's a Mishima, right? So all the Mishimas have a 1-1, right? So 1-1-2 will be like your main hit confirmed. So this is a Mishima cornerstone, and it's no different to Reina. Now, however, unlike the other Mishimas 1-1-2, where they knock down, Reina's actually goes into the stance. So on hit, she's forced into the Sentai stance, and you get like a canned mix-up scenario of it. Now, I'll talk about the Sentai mix-up in more detail later on in the tutorial. But yeah, job, and then you hit confirm the 1-1, so you're doing 1-1 by itself because it's safe on block. As you can see, it's -1, so it is safe on block. So you're essentially jobbing them, doing 1-1, fishing for the hit confirm, and when you see this connect on hit, you finish it on hit, and then you go into the Sentai mix-up. Just be careful about doing it on block because it is launch punishable on block, like the other Mishimas 1-1-2. So you want to make sure that this connects on hit by hit confirming it. From her job as well, she has a bunch of follow-ups, such as 1-2-3, which is something good to catch them off guard. So if you think they're going to press after 1-2, for example, you can use this to catch them off guard. And also after this, she has another extension with 1-2-3-4. So it's just like a little string to catch them pressing buttons. So if you think they're going to press buttons after 1-2, you can finish it sometimes and catch them off guard, right? And it's so delayable, so it's 1-2-3-4. It has like slight delay on them that you can do if you want to catch them pressing buttons. Now another move with Reina is 4. 4 is decent because it has good tracking. It's a high. It's 13 frames, so it's pretty fast. It has pretty good range. On counter hit, you get guaranteed CD3 follow-up. So you dash up and you do CD3, right? So it's a little bit tricky, so it takes some practice, but you do get follow-up afterwards, like this, right? So it's just a fast, kind of like a Magic 4, but not really a Magic 4. But you use it for the speed, and if you think they're gonna press buttons at a disadvantage or during your frame trap, you can sneak this out to kind of interrupt them. Now against the wall, it wall splats as well, so it's pretty useful for that aspect as well. So yeah, just note on follow-up, you get a pretty chunky follow-up on counter hit. 1+2 is another move that you can use with Reina. It's basically her father's Demon Breath. Hayashi is 1+2 as well, same properties. It's 12 frame. It's only -10 on block, so it's not too unsafe. So you can use this as a quick interrupt against the opponent's pressure for good rewards. So you can kind of troll it sometimes to keep them on their toes. It wall splats as well, obviously, and it knocks down, so you can kind of pressure afterwards. So knock down, pressure them afterwards, and get Oki afterwards, right? So it's a pretty decent move to throw out like sparingly. Next move is 3+4-4. So this is nice as a whip punisher because it has very good range. You can hit confirm this, and it does low crush as well. So as you can see, she jumps in the air, right? So you can hit confirm it. So hit confirm and finish on hit. So similar to 1-1-2, where you're only gonna finish on block, or sorry, you're only gonna finish on hit. So if you see this connect, you finish the string. And she has the heat version as well, which you can destroy anyway because it's safe, like I said earlier on. So this is all safe and it ships. So you can use it for that purpose. Another move that's good to use is 4-2-3, because 4-2-3 is a safe high string, so it's safe on block. It comes session 13 frames, so it's quite fast, so it's decent to poke with. And it goes into Sentai on block and or on hit. Ideally, because it's minus some block into the stance, ideally you want to hit confirm it. It is a tight hit confirm, but it is possible. You want to hit confirm it into the stance, and then you can go for your cans mix up here. Like I said, I'll talk more about Sentai mix up later on. So 4-2-3 is a pretty nice throw light poke, right? You don't even need to go into Sentai as well. You can just kind of do it by itself. So it's something you can throw in neutral sometimes. 4-4 is Reina's main mid pressure tool. It's similar to Hayachi's. It's a little bit weaker than Hayachi's, because his was +4 if I remember. Reina's version is only +2, but you can still do things with it. So same as Hayachi, if this hits on a crouching opponent, you get guaranteed Downfort 1-2, which I explained earlier, it goes into heat. So this is also pretty strong against the wall, because they don't want to duck against the wall, right? Because if they duck against the wall and you hit confirm this, you get a whole combo, right? So it's a decent mid pressure tool that you can keep the opponents locked in. Now it's only +2, so this into Downfort 1 is not a frame trap. However, you can use it to stop most options that they try, and you can do job as well to frame trap them if they try to press anything. Now, speaking of Downfort 1 is going to be Reina's main mid poke. It's quite good because, like most Downfort 1s in the game, it comes session 13 frame, so this is going to be your to-go-to mid poke in a lot of scenarios, right? Now, the good thing about Reina's Downfort 1 is she has a high extension, which is natural combo. It's +7, so it's quite advantageous on hit. And if they're looking to duck the high, so sometimes you do Downfort 1 and you want to condition them to duck the high by doing a bunch of times, so you have the mid follow-up. Now be careful, the mid follow-up, it is -14, so it's quite risky against some characters, but you can condition them by making them duck into Downfort 1, or you can use Downfort 1 too as a quick whip punisher. So if you're up close and you see the opponent whip something, you can use this as a whip punisher. While she's in heat, you can just do it on block because you get the heat dash afterwards, right? So this is one of her best moves to exit out of heat, just to cause shit damage, just to pressure afterwards, and then you're +5, so you still can pressure and take advantage. So, and especially against the wall, this becomes a lot better, because as you can imagine, it's scary to duck this. It's scary to randomly duck Reina, and especially scary to duck her after Downfort 1, because you can threaten the mid follow-up and get wall splat, right? So Downfort 1 is an absolute must use with Reina. Another move you want to use with Reina is Downfort 2. Downfort 2 is going to be her main whip punisher, so it has good reach. Now keep in mind, it doesn't launch crouching opponents, so they have to be standing for it to launch. But it is a decent whip punisher, so if you're not feeling your electrics, right, if you're not feeling comfortable with your electric whip punishment, you can go for Downfort 2 instead as a whip punisher. And it's not too bad to throw out sometimes because it's only -12. So it's not too bad to do sometimes because it does high crush. So you can see she crouches a little bit. So if you read that your opponent is going to go for a jab or whatever, you can use this to crush under the jab for a full launcher, right? So it's not a bad launcher to throw out, and especially as a whip punisher. Another string we should use with Reina is Downfort 4-2. Why you want to use this string is because it's a safe mid string. So as you can see, it's mid and it's safe. There's not many mid strings that are safe, so this is definitely a valuable string. It's natural combo, as you can see. And it has a high follow-up as well, so if you think they're going to take their turn after this on block, you can condition them with the 3 follow-up. So that's Downfort 4, 2, 3. And I believe the last hit is a counter launcher. So let me demonstrate this. So the last hit is indeed a counter launcher. So yeah, so it's a good string to throw out. Condition to respect this with the follow-up. Now, it does transition into Heaven's Wrath, which I'll talk about more in the Heaven's Wrath section of this guide. But if you hold down afterwards, you can go into Heaven's Wrath. Now, then back 2 is going to be Reina's main low poke. Now, be careful, it is quite risky. It's -16, so it is launch punishable for almost every character in the game. However, it does high crush. And it is... It's not too fast for a low poke, it's 20 frame startup. But it does decent damage and it does high crush. So the whole idea of Reina is that it's very scary to duck Reina because she has stuff like this. She has 442, which I'll talk about more about later. So 442, 4 down 421, it's really scary to duck this character randomly. So Damage 2 becomes a bit more valuable in that sense. Now it is minus on hits, is really unsafe on block. So don't go too crazy with this move. But just know that you have this low as an option. Another move with Reina is Danmak 4. And its follow-up, Danmak 4 1+2. So as a round ender, Danmak 4 is alright. Because it's not a lot of damage. However, if the opponent has a tiny bit of life left, you can use Danmak 4 to finish them. But also it's valuable because it has an extension. So if they try to punish Danmak 4 by itself, so let's say they try to punish it by itself, you can interrupt them by using the extension. So it's a very good round ender. Another move with Reina is back 2. So this is going to be Reina's main mid homie move. So back 2. So as you can see, there's a lot of pushback on hits. So it's a bit hard to continue pressure afterwards. But you do have to keep in mind that the range is really good. And the speed of it is 16 frames. So that's really strong for a mid-homie move. So if you think your opponent's going to step at any point, you can use back 2 to kind of keep them in check, right? So if you think your opponent's going to try and step at plus frames, or in any situation, you can use back 2 as a homie move. The thing with Reina is her tracking is not too strong. So you're going to have to rely on back 2 to keep them honest, to keep them from stepping Reina often. So now it's more useful at the wall because obviously there's less pushback on hits because the wall's behind them. So there's less pushback on hits. So it becomes a bit more valuable at the wall, but still a good move overall. So another move is Reina's back 4. It's an 18 frame Pinterest high launcher. Now you must be thinking, oh, that doesn't sound too strong because it's 18 frame, it's a high, but it's a counter launcher. So it's a counter launcher, which is pretty nice. But another property of it that is also pretty nice is the fact that it high crushes pretty quickly. So if you think your opponent is going to go for a jab, or your opponent's going to go for like another high, you can use back 4 to keep them, you know, to stop them from jabbing you, to stop them from using the high on you. And if you read that they're going to do a high or whatever, you get big rewards with the counter launcher follow-up, right? So, and also in knockdown, so if you're close to a wall, you can go for a free follow-up afterwards, right? So it's pretty nice like that. So the next move is Reina's back 1+2. It's her main mid power crush. It's relatively fast at 18 frame, so it's a lot stronger at the wall because it wall splats, right? For a full conversion. So you kind of have to use power crush, especially in Tekken 8, just to make the opponent respect you, right? So yeah, it's a must use with Reina just to discourage the opponents from overextending under pressure against the armored's move that the power crush offers. So back 1+2 is something you gotta use with Reina sometimes sparingly. Another move is upward 1. So this is a 13 frame high. So it's a 13 frame high. She goes into Heaven's Wrath stance automatically. On counter hit, you get even more plus frames in Heaven's Wrath. So in Heaven's Wrath, after Upward 1, you get some guaranteed pressure options, which I'll talk about more later on in the Heaven's Wrath session. So another move of Reina is Standing 3. Standing 3 is a homing high move. It's a bit slow at 18 frame, but Reina is a bit lacking in her tracking and her homing moves, so you gotta kinda use this. So like back 2, which is important for stopping the opponents from stuffing Reina, Standing 3 is also used for that purpose. It has a follow-up with Standing 3 into the 4, and as I demonstrated earlier, she can make this follow-up safe by using up heat. So Standing 3 into the 4 is unsafe, so be careful. But like I said, if you have heat, you can extend it, use a little bit of heat and make it safe, and it's super rewarding heat, as you can see with the damage. She also has a high version, so a high follow-up after the Standing 3. So you can use this to sometimes be safe, you know, if they're not ducking after the Standing 3. So it's natural combo. And if you think they're going to duck the high, that's when you throw out the 4 sometimes, right? Now, it is risky, but like I said, in heat, you can make the risk reward in your favor by doing the heat follow-up. So they'll be scared to duck the 3. They'll be scared to duck the high after the Standing 3. So that's something you can use as a homing option. The next move is Reina's Upper 4. So this is Reina's hop kick. So it's going to be one of her panic tools. Now, if you read a low, for example, you can go over the low and use hop kick to crush over the low. So that's one use of the hop kick. Now it's slower than usual hop kick. It comes out at 17 frame, while most hop kicks come out in 15 frame. But like I said, if you have a read and your opponent's going for a low, it's there to use, right? Now, let's talk about the move, right? Let's talk about the move. Why everyone's going to pick up this character. Probably the most complained about move that Reina has to offer, and that is 442. Now, 442 is an extremely fast mid at range. It has huge range, as you can see. Now, the good thing about 442 is not only the speed of the move, it's not only the range of the move, but it's the fact that you can go into Sentai afterwards. So even on block, you're still plus into Sentai. On hit, you're massively plus into Sentai. And the main thing about 442 is you can hit confirm it into the Sentai 3. This is natural combo into the 3. And it's going to be one of your main ways to go into Heat Engager. To go into the heat state with Reina. So, now be careful about doing 442. A lot of Reina players like to flowchart the 442 into the 3 no matter what's happening, right? So be careful of this, because if the opponent reads, they can duck the 3 and launch you. But I'll talk about that in more detail in the Sentai section. So just know at Reina that 442 is literally one of the best mids the franchise probably has ever seen, right? So it's a crazy mid. It can force a situation on block, and on hit you get so many like hands mix-ups that the opponent just has to deal with. It's amazing to approach with. It's an amazing keep out tool. It's just a super auto neutral button. What more can I say, right? It's just amazing. Most of your Reina gameplay will be around this move. So, another move you can use with Reina is 443. You might recognize the move is Hayachi's 443 and it's Kazuya's 443. So she definitely takes up after the Mishima name, right? So 443 is one of Reina's main heat engagers. So if you read that your opponent's gonna duck, you can do 443. Now, unlike the other Mishimas, 443 is not a launcher. It is only a launcher if you burn the heat dash. So if you want a launcher from this, you have to burn the heat dash. So unlike the other Mishimas, it's not a normal hit launcher, so you have to commit to burning the heat dash. Another move with Reina is forward neutral 3. So Reina's forwards, if you do forward neutral with Reina, she goes into like a misstep kind of transition, like a misstep kind of stance. So if Reina does, she has a parry from this as well. So you just have to time the parry with the opponent's move. There you go, right? So it's like, if you're familiar with Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, it's similar to the parry where you have to tap forwards into the attack, and she parries the move, and I believe you get some follow-ups afterwards. So it's a little bit tricky to time. But if you get it down, it can be really, really rewarding. So she goes into like a CD transition afterwards. Now it's quite tricky, but if you have the reads, you can go into it. Now, just to talk about the 4 neutral stance, so she has a 3 out of it, which has massive range, right? You can see the range on this, it's quite big, right? So it's a good mid option out of this. Now, it's also a counter hit launcher. So if she does a counter hit, it's a counter hit launcher, as you can see. So it's a pretty good move to like approach the opponent, which you can kind of treat it like Brian's 3+4, right? So it's pretty good for that reason. Another move of Reina is her Sicep 4. Sicep 4 is going to be one of her Cypher lows, because it's only -13 on block, which is much better than Damage 2, right? It's better than Damage 2 on block and also on hit, because Damage 2 is -3 on hit, right? But Sicep 4 is 0 on hit. It's much safer at block at -13. On counter hits, she gets some extra plus frames to work with, right? So this is a pretty good move to use, like on Oki, for example, or just in neutral if you think your opponent's gonna freeze up, right? So another move of Reina is her running 3. So running 3 is good because it's +6 on block. It does chip damage on block. So it's a really good option to approach the opponent with. And pressure afterwards, so you can do maybe downward 1 here. You can maybe do downward 1. So let me let the opponent block this. So I'm gonna make Jin block this. And you know, it's just a good pressure to run +6 chip damage. You can pressure afterwards, you know, it's maybe this. Maybe go into your waiver, wherever, right? So running 3 is a pretty damn good option. And also as a heat engager, so when you do heat engager and heat dash, running 3 is a pretty decent option to go for. Because they're forced to block this, they can't do anything but this. So they are forced to block this. So you can see all the chip damage you're doing to them, right? So heat engager, force block running 3. Now what else can we do with this? So that's your main approach pressure tool. Now let's say we go into heat dash. You can also do running 4. So running 4 is a high, so why would you want to do this? You want to do this because running 4 goes into the Heaven Rat stance if you hold down, which is a really nice option. So I'll talk about why that's a bit more valuable when I get into the Heaven's Rat stance, right? In the section there. So another move of Reina is Wall Standing 1. Wall Standing 1 is going to be her main 13 frame Punisher from Wall Standing. The really good thing about this move is that you can hit confirm it into the Sentai 3. So it's guaranteed into the Sentai 3. Now, it is unsafe on block at -10, but I promise you, no one is going to punish this move because it has the tiniest block stun ever. So it's -10 with the world's tiniest block stun ever. So the opponent's not really going to punish this. And like I said, on normal hits, you get the Sentai 3 guaranteed. So it's a pretty damn good move to just kind of throw it sometimes, you know, test your opponent's reactions a little bit. So another move is Wall Standing 2. Wall Standing 2, this might look familiar. It is Heihachi's Wall Standing 2. On counter hit. Oh my god, what am I doing? On counter hit, you get guaranteed follow-up, right? So you get downward 1-2 as a follow-up, for example. So it's a face-up, as you can see, she sidesteps a little bit as she does it. so it's extremely evasive. So you can use this in some situations, such as then foreign hit into wall standing 2 is a pretty common setup to evade some of the opponent's moves, and you get counter follow-up, right? Or if an opponent leaves Reina in crouch on block, so let's say, you know, for example, Reina's forward 4 on block, any move that leaves Reina in crouch, she can do while standing 2 as a cheeky escape to get out, depending on what they do, right? So Reina's while standing 4 is going to be one of her main poke from while standing. So it's 11 frame, it's pretty good, right? She has while standing 4-4, which I would advise to use as 11 frame punisher only, because it is unsafe on block. So when you're wave dashing with Reina, so maybe you're threatening a bunch of things from this, you can access the while standing 4 from this as an approach, right? So you can wave through in their face, and then while standing 4 afterwards, right? So I'll talk about the Wavedash CD options a bit more in the next session. So Reina's throws, she has a really strong throw. Anyone that knows Julia Chang from previous Tekken games, it's a very similar input. So it's back 4-2. This is good because it's a 2 break. So it's a 2 break. It's basically Julia's mad axis, so it's very, very bufferable, which means you can do cursor back and then 4-2. So it's really, really bufferable. So look at my input, so cursor back and then 4-2. So it's really, really bufferable, right? So you can do after, so you can buffer the motion as you do move. So let's say I do downward 1, I'm buffering it. So I'm buffering the motion during the downward 1. Or if you do this, you can buffer the motion during the running 3 animation. Any animation really, so you can get really creative with it. And especially that throws are so strong in this game because to beat power crushes, to beat armored moves, they're very strong as counter hit grabs. So you can use this as a counter hit grab essentially. Extremely strong throw. Definitely use a lot with Reina. Now, before I start the session, I want to preface that my execution is really bad, and I'm happy to admit that, no problem. So I'm going to have some execution errors in here, so bear with me. So I'm not a Mishima player, so I don't practice these things, so bear with me, okay? So now, Reina, like all the other Mishima characters in the Tekken series, has access to a waifu, right? Now, the waifu is good because you can approach the opponents with it, right? So it's a really, really good approach tool. So if you want to close the gap between yourself and the opponent, she can do the waifu to approach the opponent. If she has a damper tree, which you can do as the easy mode version of the waifu. Now, if you do this, there's no electric or render feeds, but if you do the normal inputs, she has electric render feed, right? So this is really, really good to approach the opponent with. So this is really, really good to approach your opponent with and to close the gap between yourself and the opponent. So now bear with me again. I'm going to do heats for the electric and adjust frame moves, so don't laugh at me, okay? So a main thing about Reina over CD option is that she has access to electric, right? Electric or electric wind god fist as it's commonly called. All the Mishima characters have this, and Reina is no exception. So with Reina's electric, you want to use it as an approach tool, of course, because it's +5 on block. So it's a really, really good approach tool, right? It's also really good as a keep out tool. So if you think your opponent's going to approach you badly at the wrong time, you can use this as a keep out tool because the whip recovery is very, very good, right? The whip recovery is very, very good. So it's hard to whip punish. And it's just generally a good keep out tool, a good approach tool. You know, you get the idea. So it's a very well rendered move, 100% abusable. So how do you complement the electric, right? So the electric is obviously, it's a high, right? So they might duck this. So how are you going to stop them from ducking this? If I just do it properly, that would be amazing. So how are you going to stop them from ducking the electric, right? So you have CD3, which is going to be one of your main Oki tools. So for example, let's say like back 4 into CD3. So it's a really good follow-up after certain knockdowns It's just a really strong Oki tool. If you see them lie on the ground, you can go for CD3 as an option, right? Now, the great thing about CD3 is that it's a mid. Now, be careful, it is unsafe on block. It is unsafe on block, so you have to be careful. You have to be confident in doing the just for inversion, which is safe on block. It high crushes a little bit, so if you think your opponent's going to go for a jab or another high, you can go for the CD3 as an option to crush under. It is a counter launcher, so if it is a counter launcher as well, I think the follow-up is something like while standing for. Like I said, this is not a combo guide, so bear with me. But I think the combo is while standing for. So the combo is when I actually land the CD3, that would be great. So while standing for, back for, and then some kind of follow-up, right? Again, I'm not too sure of the optimal combos, but you do get follow-up either way. So it's a mid option out of CD3. So why would you use this? So you can use this to stop them from ducking electric. So you can use this to stop them from ducking electric. And also you can use this to stop them from ducking the hell sweep. So you can use this to stop them from ducking the hell sweep from Reina. So Reina's hell sweep is going to be one for main low attacks, right? So it's a very damaging option, right? It's 28 damage, so it's quite beefy. But also, if you hold down afterwards, you go into Heaven's Wrath stance, which is a pretty nice option. I'll explain that in more detail later on. So wave through, threaten with the hell sweep, wave through, do while standing for from the CD as well. You can do while standing for. You keep them in check if they're looking to duck the hell sweep, right? So wave through, while standing for. Wave through, hell sweep. So you get the idea, right? Or you can do wave through, CD3 with the just for inversion, obviously, please. Or you can you have CD3 as an option as well. So it's a mid. Now CD3 is kind of funny because traditionally Mishima's CD3 is a mid that's launched on block, so it's never like that useful. But Reina's version of CD1, she has follow-up afterwards, so she has a mid into a mid, right? It is unsafe on block, so be a bit careful with it. However, it's only -12 on block, so it's not too unsafe. But why they might want to duck into the mid is because you have a high follow-up, right? So the high follow-up. Oh my god, yeah, see, you see what I mean by shit execution, bear with me. So it has a high follow-up, that's -7. However, if you're against the wall, it wall stuns on your serum block, right? Now, you can use the CD versions, you can use the CD1. If you're looking to duck the hell sweep, you can use the CD1 to make them not duck. Or sorry, to make them too scared to duck the hell sweep as a mid option. So yeah, that kind of summarizes Reina's way through options. So yeah, I hope you learned something in this session. So the next session, we're going to talk about the Sentai. So let's dig right into that. So Reina's Sentai mix-up is going to be one of her main stances to use. It's really accessible from a bunch of moves, such as 112. So remember, 112 is going to be one of your main pick and firm moves in neutral. It's going to be your 10 frame punish as well. It goes into Sentai guaranteed. You can also do 4x2 into Sentai, which is an extremely strong option as well. You can also do a raw from 4-3. So if you think you can do this on Oki, or if your opponent is respecting you, you can do this raw as well. But mainly it's going to come from 112, and it's going to mainly come from 4x2. Now, let's talk about what she has out of the Sentai mix-up. So the big thing is going to be Sentai 3. So like I said earlier, 4x2 can be hit confirmed into the Sentai 3. And this is really strong because it's a heat engager. And if you are in heat, it gives you a really damaging follow-up. Right, it gives you a really damaging follow-up. So, right, so it's a really good with Punisher 442. It's a really good with Punisher. It's a really good approach tool. Just make sure you hit confirm into the Sentai 3. Now, the Sentai 3 by itself is +1 on block, and it's also homing high. So if your opponent's gonna step after 442 on block, you can go for the Sentai 3 to stop them from stepping, to keep on plus frames if they're not ducking it. So now, what happens if they're hard ducking the Sentai 3? Well, we have a bunch of mids to complement this, so let's talk about those. So Sentai 1 is the power crush out of Sentai. So let's say you do 442 on block into Sentai 1. If you feel like your opponent is going to try and interrupt your options after Sentai, after 442, if you think they're going to approach your options after 442, you can go for the power crush to kind of stop them from doing that. Now, the nasty thing about this move is that it has another extension as well. Now, be careful, it is launch punchable on block, but you mix it up, right? You mix up between only doing the first hit by itself or continue the extension, right? So if you think they're going to punish the first hit on block, you can continue extension, but it is a bit risky because they're both quite unsafe, especially the second hit because it is launch punishable. So use it sparingly. Now, another mid we have out of Sentai is Sentai 2. It's just a safe mid to go for. After 442 on hits, it is like a guaranteed force block. Like they can't really do anything bad on hits, for example. It's safe, it's only -4, so it's pretty good on block. If you think your opponent's gonna duck, you know, this into the Sentai 3, or if you think they're gonna duck another move I'll talk about in a second, the Sentai 2 is just a good safe mid-check afterwards. It's pretty linear, so be careful if they step it, but it's still a pretty decent option to go for. Now, another mids that Reina has is Sentai 4. Sentai 4 is a +4 on block mid, so you can use this as an option if you condition them to respect you. So let's say to respect your mids, so you got them to respect you from trying to step because you're doing moves like Sentai 3, you're doing moves like Sentai 3+4, which is a homing low option. So Sentai 3 is a really chunky low homing option out of Sentai. So this is going to be one of the reasons why your opponents will want to duck Reina, because of the low and because of the plus and block high. So to stop them from ducking against these moves, like I said, you have the mids such as this, you have the mid Sentai 1, 2, you have Sentai 2, you have Sentai 4 to stop them from ducking the high and the low from this, right? So Sentai 4 is nice because it's +4 on block, so if you want to keep the pressure up, you can go for this option, especially against the wall, because 112 wall stunts against the wall, so you're massively plus, you're +23, so it's extremely plus, right? So this into the Sentai 4 is pretty much a force block, like they have to block this, they can't do anything about it. So this into Sentai 4 is a good option to go for, and you're +4, so against the wall you can still frame trap with Downport 1, right? So now the last option Reina has at a Sentai is Sentai 3, which is a grab. It is unbreakable, so this grab is actually unbreakable, so it's a scary high that to have to look out for, right? So this high, this low, and the plus and block high encourages people to duck Reina's Sentai stance options, which you have Sentai 2, you have Sentai 1, you have Sentai 4. So these are really good options to stop the opponent from just ducking. But like I said, it's a mix-up, right? So let's say you land 112 as a 10-frame Punisher, you can go for the low, you can go for the mid, you can go for the grab, and especially at the wall. So we're gonna wave through at the wall. So especially at the wall, you can mix up with this, and then you make them scared to duck, right? Because of the Sentai 4. So you can then go for the grab, go for your lows. It's all a mix up at the end of the day, right? So that kind of summarizes Reina's Sentai mix-up in a nutshell. So another main stance that Reina has is her Heaven Rat stance. Now Heaven's Rat stance, similar to Sentai, is quite a mix-up orientated stance. However, it's a bit more pressure plus frames than Sentai is. Now, the main ways Reina is gonna access Heaven's Rat stance is by Wasaning 4-4, hold down, Hell Sweep, hold down, or from her Heat Smash. She goes into the automatically unblock, right? So these are your main ways to go into Heaven's Rat stance. So let's talk about what you can do with the Heaven's Rat stance. So one main tool with the Heaven's Rat stance is going to be Heaven's Rat 1, which is a fast homing out of Heaven's Rat stance. It has a safe follow-up with the Heaven's Rat 1-4. And of course, if wall splats, it's homing. And the really toxic thing about Heaven's Rat 1 is if you hold forwards, you can go into Sentai. I remember we talked about Sentai mix-ups the last time. You go to Sentai 2+4 for the low. You can go to Sentai grab if you want to be cheeky. And then you have, you know, amazing options like Sentai 3. So Heaven's Rat 1 is a very scary option. And one of your main tools to exit out Heaven's Rat stance. Because, let's say, on block, it is safe on block. The whole extension is safe on block. So it's pretty good to just kind of do, right? So, another move you want to use out of Heaven's Rat stance is the 2, which is Reina's Heat Engager. So, and in Heat, it's a launcher. So if you hold forward for the Heat Dash, it's also a launcher, right? So it's a pretty nice option. Now, I'm going to explain more why this is a really strong option. So, my favorite move in Heaven's Rat stance is Heaven's Rat 3-4. Now, the scary thing about 3-4, so let's go to the wall. The wall is where Heaven's Rat really shines, right? So, we're going to restart at the wall here. So, let's say you accessed Heaven's Rat stance by doing Wasaning 4-4, right? So, let's say they want to respect the mix-up, right? They want to respect you afterwards. So you go to Heaven's Rat 3-4, hold down 3-4, hold down 3-4. So you can kind of loop this pressure because it does a lot of chip damage, especially in Heat. So let's say you make them block Heat Smash at the wall or whatever, and you're going to Heaven's Rat. Look at all the chip damage that does, right? So let's say you're in Heat, and you loop Heaven's Rat stance. You do a lot of chip damage, right? They don't want to keep taking this, right? Because it's doing incredible chip damage to them. So how do you condition them to stop taking this? How do you make them want to disrespect you but lose horribly because of it? So Heaven's Rat 3-4. You're +8 on block, so you're extremely plus on block, right? So what can we frame trap with? Out of Heaven's Rat 3-4, we can frame trap with the Heaven's Rat 2. Now remember, this is a Heat Engager, so this is very scary to duck, right? Because it's a launcher. So if they want to risk ducking Heaven's Rat stance, well, they're going to eat a world of pain, right? So, and also, if they try to step the mix-up as well, if they try to step the pressure, well, you know the story, Heaven's Rat 1-4. So if they try to step, this is going to walls block them, right? So your main mix-up here is going to be make them keep blocking Heaven's Rat 3-4 until they do something about it, and then you throw out the 2, you throw out the 1-4, or you can be cheeky and do the Heaven's Rat 1 into the Sentai mix-up. So that's pretty good, right? So another main reason why they want to duck Heaven's Rat stance is because of the grab, right? Now this grab does more damage against the wall, so let's get away from the wall. So if you do this grab outside of the wall, it doesn't do that much damage, right? Oh, to note, this grab is unbreakable, by the way, so they have to hard up this grab, right? So this is pretty nice. So let's say bam, bam, you force the mix, and then you can go for this afterwards to make them hard duck. And if they want a hard duck, remember, we have the Heaven's Rock too, to wall splat them, right? So, you know, blah blah, Hell Sweep, grab, Hell Sweep, they duck, go for the mid, Hell Sweep, they're respecting you. Bear with me. Hell Sweep, they're respecting you. Then tight, Heaven's Rock 3-4, Heaven's Rock 3-4, Heaven's Rock 3-4, bam, deduct. You know, Heaven's Rock 3-4, go for the grab if you're cheeky. So you kind of get the idea here, right? So it's a very chip damage orientated stance. Now, when she's in heat, she has a low option with the Heat Smash in Heaven's Wrath stance. So this adds a really scary layer to the mix-up, right? So let's say you're looping this the entire time, right? You're looping this entire time. At any point, you can go for low, right? At any points during this, you can go for the low. And remember, Heaven's Wrath 2 is the Heat Engager. So this is pretty spooky to do. Bam, 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 bam. Heaven's Rock 2, Heat Dash and block. You still have a lot plus frames to work with, so you can then pressure afterwards still. So that's the main use of Heaven's Rock stance in general. So remember, access from 194, access from Hell Sweep. In Heat, it becomes a lot scarier because of the chip damage and the fact that you have a low-key smash out of it. And throw the grab in there sometimes to keep them on their toes. So that kind of summarizes Heaven's Wrath stance in a nutshell. So as you can see, Reina is a very complicated character, but I feel like she's extremely rewarding and extremely fun to play. As of now, she's a very, very strong character, and I definitely had a lot of fun playing this character and, you know, experimenting with the character, especially the last couple of weeks. I've been kind of grinding here a little bit. So yeah, as always, if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, share it with your friends. You know, let's grow more Reinas out there. Her design, when I saw her trailer, I love her design so much. She's easily one of my favorite Tekken characters of all time. And it just works out that she's also extremely fun to play. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and take care.